And good evening. Welcome to tonight's broadcast of VRS and the VRS Hero Program. So we're going to cover something tonight about the um, about a purpose, and so I want to talk about something that happens with a lot of veterans, not all, but some. So one of the things that we're starting in January. No, we're starting a program where we're going to have vets meeting every month for coffee, and we're going to give you more details about that. We're going to make an announcement of that in the next week, and we're also we're going to start talking about our equine therapy program that we partner with. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because one of the main problems that happens when people leave the military, and it happens all the time, is they lose their purpose. And when they lose their purpose, bad things happen. Whether it is they turn to alcohol. Sorry, my apologies. They turn to alcohol. They turn to chemical dependency. They turn to bad habits. They leave, and then they're no longer very good at doing certain things. And you've seen this all the time. You've seen veterans. They leave. They don't. They've lost their purpose, and they start doing stuff. They sleep in. They drink because they have nothing to do. And why is that? Well, because in order to find your purpose in life, regardless of what it is, you have to have some guidance. It's not always easy. So we talk about this in the military all the time. Your unit that you're in has a mission, and there's they talk about this all the time. What is what is the mission? If you're an MP unit, if you're a infantry unit, whatever it is, even maintenance, if you have a mission and then you leave and then all of that is taken away, not only is it left that you take your mission away, but also your purpose and your in the system to where acquire it. And I tell you what I mean by that. Okay. And I want to share a story about Westside and a meet that I did. I tried when I was powerlifting in the 90s. I tried to make elite status. Now, elite status is, we're the top one. I missed. Now, I didn't miss by much, but I still missed. And but I trained, and my goal was to deadlift 705 in a meet, and I got there. That part I got to. My squat was not bad, but it was about 685. I missed on I was that close to 715. I went for it. I didn't hit it. I was too high. I just when I went to sit back, and the worst one was my bench. My bench was horrible. I hit like um, and it was the first time that I had lifted. Not the first, but the shirts weren't that good, and I got to 415, and it just looked horrible, and I just couldn't get anyway. Missed elite, you know. But here's the thing, and while even though I missed elite, I still I still participated in the system that got me there. I was doing, I was using the conjugate method, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was using, the main lifts to, I was doing auxiliary work. I did everything I was supposed to do, and I still fell short, but I was doing the work. So go back, fast forward to, trying for, you are trying for a goal and you're not making it. That's way better than not trying for a goal at all. And what happens? Well, we are one of the things that we do is that we try for a goal, and we don't even try for the goal. We don't even get to the point where we're trying for a goal at to even try. I mean, and so what happens is to people is that you're trying at you're trying at to try to um you're trying to get things done, and you're not even coming close to them. Well, why is that? Because nobody is, after you leave the military, nobody is going to teach you a system unless you're in corporate America. And number two, you don't always have the support system. And those are the two things that normally we see that fail miserably, is the fact that we don't see them. We really don't see them in the military or after you leave like you do there. And why is that? Well, because in everyday America or everyday civilian world or anything, most people don't have a lot of worthy goals. Now, you say that, well, what is a worthy goal? And a goal is, um, you know, is something you are trying to achieve. And, the, and the problem is that, do you have your goals written down? Well, if you don't, I can tell you, if you don't have your goals written down, 9 out of 10 times, you're not even going to come close to hitting them. Why? Well, because you're not going to do anything to work for it. I mean, seriously, it happens that way. And so why is this important? Well, the the thing is, what's the first thing that in order to to hit a goal, what's the first thing you need to do? You need to write it down, and you need to see why it's important to you. If it's important to you to make $1 million, then write that down. I want to make $1 million, and you have to timestamp it. What day? By what day? And be realistic about it. If you're going to make $1 million, it could take you 5 years. Then say it. Well, it's going to take me 5 years, but pick the day, and then you need to break that up and go, why is that important to you? Is it important to you because you want to retire? Is it important because of the lifestyle that it's going to give your kids or you? Is it, why is this important to you? Well, a lot of the things that we don't show people is how to write a goal. And that's the first thing. And if you're listening to this, the way that you write a goal is, you write it down, and it has to be a quantitative number. You can't say, I want to be rich. And I've covered this before. You can't, and this is one of the things that, why purpose is important. And this is, because purpose gives you goals. Goals give you, consistency. And so I'm going to tell you a story about one of my mentors. He bought a house in Columbus, Ohio, from a lady that is an heir to one of the, she's one of the richest families in Columbus. He bought the house for $1,350,000, and it's a very nice house, exquisite, nice overviews, the river, beautiful house. He borrowed $1 million to buy it. Now he had the cash. Now let me say it. He had the cash. He could have just wrote him a check from his checking account and bought the house, and he didn't. He just and I said, well, why did you do this? And he goes, I wanted to work on paying it off, and I wanted it to be, part of my everyday. What can we do? What deals can we do to pay this off? And I was like, wow. And that was why he did that. This is why he why he bought it and, took out a mortgage on it, because he wanted to be the goal. So when if you've lost your purpose, right? If you've gone and lost your purpose, and you don't have something to work on, you're going to then spiral downwards, because of everything else. And what I mean by that is, you're going to lay in bed in the morning. You're not going to get up, and you're going to have a set time for work. And so, if and how many guys have you seen this, that do that? They get retirement, and they just sit in bed all day watching cartoons, or, I mean, I'm not talking about cartoons, but, doing something that's counterproductive. And the reason because they do this is because they don't have anywhere to go. they don't have they don't have anywhere to go. They don't have a meaning to, to go to, and they just sit there. So as a result of that, they wind up spiraling. They'll go drink a bottle of vodka and watch TV. I mean, because they have no, and if you're collecting retirement, there's a thing that came out, and I think it was, I got to see what I think it was that the average person, collected retirement, for, I think it was on the average of like 18 months, and then they died. It wasn't a very, it wasn't a very high number. I mean, it was, they, I mean, they barely, they barely, collected in retirement. They were dead. And the reason is because they had nothing to live for, and boom, your health goes away really quick. One of the things that we talk about in the blue zones across the world, and my island is one of them, is in Ikaria, is because people socialize. They wind up, they socialize all the time. They go and do something. Well, as a result, they look forward to that night out. They look forward to going out and, doing something. They don't just sit there and, and do nothing. Well, it's the same thing with here. So when we were coaching, and this is a Louis Simmons thing. I can't take credit for this, but Louis was very apt at this. Louis was always about numbers. And the first thing that he always talked about was, that he says that, the first thing is that he said, when, so this is, that weak things break. Now, if you're weak mentally, you're going to break just as if you're weak physically, because you just don't have the wherewithal to be strong. Well, why was, one of the things that he said, when we deadlifted, a lot of the things, and I'm using this as an analogy, but there's a reason to it. When you deadlifted, you just didn't deadlift every day. I mean, you deadlifted, you did the hyper back, you did good mornings, you did high pulls, you did low pulls, you did deficiently. So one of the things you would do is you would start with a deadlift with the weight, maybe 6 inches off the floor, pull it up that way. And then you would do deficiency pulls, which means that you were on a box and you pulled, so the bar was lower than it, and you would pull that way. You would do wide grip, narrow grip, you would, hit it from any different angles. Then you would do, good mornings, and, you would do auxiliary, you would do those things that were, you would do sled work and all that. So the reason is that you don't just attack you don't just attack the exercise from one angle. And that's the same thing with life. If you want to be financially rich, you don't just, say, okay, I need to make more money. Yeah, everybody does. How are you going to? You have to create some streams. You have to make, some adjustments. Basically, for, one of the examples is that, millionaires talk about having your money work for you. Well, how do you do that? Well, you could have an online business, you could have a wholesale business, but you have to have things that work for you. And it's the same thing. You have to attack everything from different angles. And it's the same thing with a purpose. And one of the things that I say to this, even if you don't have, start small. I'll give you an example. Say you want to get in shape. Okay, well, let's say you're in a, just say, hey, start on the slow end. I'm going to walk 3 days a week for 15 minutes. And even if it is just for a small amount of time, if you break down goals into small increments, they're easier to achieve, but they're also easier if you don't have a setback. They don't beat you up in the same manner. And that's why I say this, that, if you're going to go set a goal, then, do it incrementally. Say I want to get back in shape. Okay, well, start walking 3 days a week for 15 minutes. Once you do that for, a few weeks, then up that to 20 minutes. You start small, and you gain, um, once you start small and you can gain some things, then those things become easier and easier. One of the things that, we did a thing where, we were talking about, we talked about, doing pull-ups. And, one of the things that we used to talk about was doing 100 pull-ups. And so, when we first started, I mean, and I've done this a couple times, but it was to be able to do 100 pull-ups in one sitting. Um, and he is, the way you did it was the way you went about it was that you started to, slowly, if you ever did, two at a time or three at a time or whatever, you just did it. You started at that system. So we started with doing, 10 at a time, or 8 at a time. I have long arms, so pull-ups are really, difficult for me. But again, it was the thing that I talk about, is that if you are going to do something, break it down into small tasks. And if you're going to break something into small tasks, then, do it um, from small increments, and then increase the increments. And then so it got to a point that, when we started doing the pull-ups, instead of doing them at, 5 or 6 or 8 at a time, we started doing 12. So it took us, basically 99 sets, and by the time we were done, we were doing it in 6 sets, which we could do it in 15 at a time. But again, you break that down to small steps, become bigger steps as you get going. And that's one of the things that I think that happens. So one of and I say this, and one of the things that I go that I talk about is also, it is that you need, to in order to, to um to um if you want to create a goal, or you want to repurpose your life, think about something that you enjoy. So think about something that, brings you, something that you love. What do you love? I mean, and some people like, some people like reading. Is um it is the um it is it's the reason that you need to get up in the morning. And if you don't have a reason to get up in the morning, everything else is going to be, hard. I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be right back. I'm going to just have a cup of coffee and, but I will be right back, and we'll finish up. And I'm back. I just wanted to get a cup of coffee and not do it on screen. But going back to your purpose. If you don't have a purpose that gets you up in the morning, you're going to sleep in, and you're just going to, go the whole day away without doing anything. And that's why I say to you, create a purpose. What do you want? And sometimes, people are like, well, you got to do a job you love. No, you don't. You don't have to do a job you love. Do a job that lets you pay the bills, and then work out a deal with, the rest of it to, to start building a business that does. I mean, I don't like what I do during the day, but it helps me build something else on the side that I can do that will create another, will create some other stuff for me. So that's why I say, and also understand if you have a big goal and you want to break it down to little goals at a time. Just not everything has to be you don't have to do everything all at once. You don't have to do everything you don't have to do everything if you're going to bench 500, it might take you, you know, 2 to 3, 4, 5 months to get there. Well, if it takes you that long, it is, it, it does big deal. I mean, it takes you that long to get there. And, so it is what it is, guys. I mean, and that's why it will take you, something, a while to get there. And again, it is something that people need to think about, that it doesn't take you forever to get there. But again, if you are, if you're going to do something, understand that people, when you quit the drive for something, when you quit the drive, it affects everything else. It's going to affect your personal relationships. If you're going to be at home every day and not do anything, and you're going to be stuck in the house, well, what is that going to do to the relationship that you have with your spouse? You don't get a time to break away. What is it going to do with you're going to get cabin fever, and as a result, you're going to do other stupid stuff. So I say that because at the end of the day, that you need to have you need to have something to get away at with everything else. And then the other thing that I will say to you too is that with people doing that, when you do lose purpose, is that if you lose purpose, that that it is going to take a lot out of your psyche, and then you're going to get depressed and everything else. So how do you fix this? And this is what we're going to close on. How do you fix this? Well, you sit down and you start. Hey Raymond, how you doing today? Raymond Trueblood is one of our great fans in it. But if you lose purpose, you're going to wind up having bad things happen. And how do you do that? Sit down with a life coach. Sit down with read The Magic of Thinking Big. There's plenty of books out there, how to set goals, how to, repurpose your life. Like I said, we're working, we've been working on the last year for the VRS Heroes program. This is why we're addressing this. And, we have a workbook that we give out to people. And as the next year starts, we're going to be even better with that. And the other issue is that we also are going to we are also going to give seminars on how to and how to how to sit there and be much better at things. And like I said, if you are having issues with stuff, reach out to us, and we'll try to help you out. Anyway, that's all we got for tonight. I know it's Christmas weekend. But as the next year comes up, we're going to work on. I mean, we're talking about that too. When you're injured, a lot of the things that one of the programs that we're working on is to help you exercise when you are disabled, and that is one of the problems. So we'll get to that, Raven. Anyway, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys all. We will talk to you tomorrow, and thank you again for supporting VRS.